the special Shabbat. What do we call this week's Shabbat? Anybody know?
Zohar.
Oh, good. Shabbat Zohar. Now, because we always have to remember about what Amalek did. And if you look on, if you have the Art Scroll Chumash, it's on page 1066. And the verse says, Zohar is Asher Asalach Amalek. You must remember what Amalek did to you. And why are we recalling what Amalek did to us at this time of the year? Because who's an Amalek in the Megillah? Who's
Haman.
Haman? Of course, Haman descended from Amalek, and we know what he tried to do. So we always have to remember not to forget what people like that have done to us. And that was totally unprovoked. We departed from Egypt, was going our way to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai, and then they attacked us. And the reason why they attacked us because they didn't want us to receive the Torah. And because of that, we have to remember all that and to eradicate Amalek. And in the Megillah, who's an Amalek from the Megillah? Who descends from the Amalekim? Who's an Amalekite?
Haman.
Haman. Okay. Now, okay, let's. So if you have your Megillahs, I think we're on excuse me. I think we at the last part of chapter 2. I think I better just start on chapter 2, verse 21. Esther has become the queen, as you know, and it says the following. In those days, Mordechai was sitting in the what do you call it, by the gate of the king. Remember, Mordechai was a member of their government at that time. Thank you. And Kotzaf, Bixam, Beteresh, Nesre Melech, Shomri Asaf, and there's two guards, Bixam and Teresh. They were guards of the king. And they were plotting to assassinate King Achashverosh. Okay. And Mordechai understood it. Came to him. How did he understand? Why does the Megillah have to tell me it became known to Mordechai? Thing became known to Mordechai. By Agel Esther Malka told Esther the king, Esther the queen. Why does the Megillah have to say, and the thing was known to Mordechai? Now,
he heard it indirectly.
No, he heard it directly from them. But the thing was, as we mentioned before, Mordechai was a member of the Sanhedrin, of the Jewish Supreme Court. And to be a member of the Sanhedrin, you had to know all major languages of the day. So they were Spiktan and Teresh, were conversing in a different language, not Persian, some other language. And he understood it. And therefore, he was able to tell that to Esther, Esther Amalka.
So if he understood it, why didn't it just say, and he heard it? Not that, and it was heard.
Well, maybe because he had to, he was translating it to himself what they were saying, I suppose. The thing came known, because normally they knew that the Bigtan and Teresh knew that he was nearby. And they spoke anyway, because they assumed that this fellow Mordechai, whoever maybe didn't even know who he was, that he would know what they're talking about. He's speaking a strange language. He was not Persian. So
he didn't expect them to. They didn't expect.
And nevertheless, Mordechai knew about it because he understood their language. Okay, about this that plot to assassinate Achashverosh, right? And he told it to Esther Amalka. But the next thing also very important. But Tomer Esther Lamelech b'Shem Mordechai. Notice what it says. Esther said, told the king about what Mordechai, b'Shem Mordechai. She said, Mordechai told me the following. What do we learn from that? Why she doesn't take credit. She could have simply said, and Queen and Esther told the king, and that's it. But it said, b'Shem Mordechai. She said in the name of Mordechai. Very important principle we learn from that. I mean, not that even in the Gemara, the Talmud. Whenever a particular teacher of the Talmud is saying something, and he heard it from some other rabbi, it always mentions the name of the rabbi, shame, whatever it is. Because if you learn something from another person and you didn't know that, So at that particular point, it's the proper thing to do to say, oh, I heard it from Rabbi so-and-so, this particular ruling. And the same thing over here, we see that Esther did not simply tell Achashverosh. She could have just told him what was happening. She said, B'Shem Mordechai, and the name Mordechai. And the Gemara brings out from here we see, and I'll quote the Gemara Megillah, it says, Omer Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina said, Kol Omer Dov B'Shem Omero. If you repeat something and you say the name of the person who told you this particular information, maybe Gula Olam. Well, like in this case, redemption came. Because how did the redemption come from what Mordechai told, what Esther told the Achashverosh? I think I might have mentioned it last week.
Mordecai was given credit, and Haman was kind of degraded. Haman had to take him around in the king's horse, and
that's
make
true.
a deal out of Mordecai.
Right. All that, because remember, I think I mentioned last time that at this point, although the king knew about it and it had to be true, normally somebody would save your life. You want to reward him right away. You thank him, and nothing was done. Achashverosh said absolutely nothing. Okay, so we see that the Gemara also says that we see over here God is preparing the refuah, the remedy before the plague, meaning the plan to annihilate all the Jews. Because this thing comes up later on when one night the king couldn't sleep, and somebody brought him the chronicle, and they read about Mordechai saving the king's life. And at that point, Achashverosh says, "What did I give him? Did I reward this man?" I said, "No." So then that was the turning of the whole story, where Mordechai becomes a hero, and he hears later on that Haman wanted to destroy Mordechai's people and Esther's people. Okay, that was an important point. That at this point, King Achashverosh did not reward Mordechai. Okay, the last verse says, they investigated and they found this to be true. And both of them were hanged on the tree. Then the chapter ends up like the safety and that it was recorded in the chronicles of the king. Okay, but no reward at this point. Chapter 3. After this incident, so then the king Achashverosh appointed Haman ben Hammedatha, the Agagite, and he gave him a great honor. But Yosem so he became the head, his assistant, the viceroy of the Persian country. Okay, now what is this? Now, so again, the Gemara says after these things, after what I mentioned before, that God had created the refuah, the remedy before the plague. Already it said that's where God is concealed, behind the scenes. Okay. Verse 2. And all these servants of the king, anyone in the gate of the king, had to bow down and prostrate themselves in front of Haman. That was the rule that King Achashverosh sent out. However, Mordechai Mordechai refused. He doesn't kneel and he doesn't prostrate himself. Yeah. Now, why did Mordechai do it? I mean, let's assume we meet with the Queen of England and we bow. Are we permitted to bow in front of the Queen or in front of a king of a particular country?
Yes.
Yeah. So why did Haman refuse? I mean, why did Mordechai refuse? We can't bow in front of a king and authority. That's the custom of the country. So what was wrong in this case? Why did Mordechai refuse to do so?
Haman was wearing an amulet.
What was on that amulet?
An
Was this-
idol.
An idol. Yeah, that's going to sound. It wasn't just bowing down to Haman. Haman wanted people to go and also prostrate before his God. And that's why Mordecai refused. Normally, if he didn't have that, maybe Mordecai would have done so. But he refused because he had an idol on his around a chain of some sort. Or some say he declared himself as a god. He proclaimed himself, I'm a god. So that's why it was prohibited for Mordecai to show respect to Haman. Okay. Okay, let's go. Okay. Verse 3. Vayomru Abdei HaMelech B'shar HaMelech LeMordechai, and the servants of the kings said to Mordechai, Madu atu oveis mitzvas HaMelech? Why aren't you agree? Why don't you abide by the commandment of the king? But he didn't. I don't know if he, in the Megillah doesn't say his reply, but we know his reply must have been he considers himself as a god. However, they kept on bothering him about this. Verse 4, day by day, they said the same thing. Bow down or whatever. He didn't listen. And Haman started to investigate what's going on over here. And then they realized that he is a Yehudi. As a Jew, he refuses to bow down. Now, the Midrash picked up on this where it says Yom Yom, day by day. This went on. Whenever Mordechai passed Haman, he just walked by, didn't show any respect to him. Where? This is a good question. Where else we find in the Torah where says somebody was bothering another individual day by day and refused to do what was told to him? Where do you find that? And it happens to be somebody. Well, which is the person who did that is an ancestor, direct ancestor of Mordechai.
So,
Go back further.
from Benjamin.
Well, he's from Benjamin. Okay.
What
Who
did
was
he?
the father? Go ahead.
What did he do again? Can you repeat that?
Where do you? Okay, that's it. Who was Benjamin's? Who was what do you call it? In Mitzrayim, in Egypt? What person refused to do something? What?
Oh, no, Yosef.
Yosef, and the same words are said over there. Remember, Potiphar's wife wanted to have relations with Yosef. Yom Yom, says she. The verses every single day. By Yosef Yom Yom. Potiphar's wife spoke to Yosef the same thing that she wanted to have relations with him day by day, and he refused. And says the same thing over here, day by day. Mordechai was approached and said, "Why don't you bow down to Haman?" Oh, okay. So Yosef was the father of Yosef's what do you call it?
Ancestor.
What?
Ancestor.
Well, Yosef is really it's Yosef and Binyamin were brothers, right?
Yes.
Yosef and Binyamin.
Yes.
So it seems like, or you could say both, or you could say no, or even Binyamin and Yosef were the children of Rachel. They came from the same thing, and just like we see that Yosef went ahead and refused the wife of Potiphar's desire to live with him, and he's the son of Rachel. Likewise, Mordechai, who descends from Binyamin, also Binyamin is the son of Rachel, also refused. So they both of them are similar in that respect. They could have transgressed, and they didn't. They refused, and even though they were heckled every single day about it. Okay, so that relationship the Midrash brings down between Mordechai, who's and Yosef, who both descend from really the mother Rachel. Okay. Well, let's go further. Okay. And of course, when Haman found out about it, he was angry. Let's go to verse 6. Even being no, so you're about God. First, he said, I'm going to go ahead and slay Mordechai. I can't stand this fellow. He's got to, I'm going to put him to death. I'm going to kill him. First it said, the only Mordechai. Then look at it, it's like a progression. But look at the next part, it says, Mordechai. And they told the people, they told them about the nation of Mordechai. So according to the Gemara and Megillah, says, the first thought that Haman had was only to slay Mordechai, kill Mordechai. But they said, no, that's not enough. We have to kill the nation of Mordechai. When he says the nation of Mordechai, he doesn't mean Israel, he means the Sanhedrin. All the sages of Israel have to be slain, just like Mordechai. But there's he goes further. Look at the end part of that sentence. It says, all of a sudden, then it goes, then Haman wanted to kill all the Jews. So see, it was a progression over here. First, he only wanted to kill Mordechai because he was the one who refused to prostrate himself before him. Then, oh no, I want the colleagues of Mordechai. I'm Mordechai. All the scholars, the Talmidei Chachamim, I'm going to kill them. And then, finally, no, everybody decided total annihilation of all Jews throughout the Persian Empire. Because you see in this verse a progression. Now, verse 7. Now he has to present this plan to Achashverosh. He has to have a king to give his blessings to it. So, Chodesh Rishon, Chodesh Nisan was the first month, which is the month of Nisan. Take notice when it was, because Nisan causes Pesach time, 2 weeks later. Mishnah Shtei Mesrei Lamelech Achashverosh. Look at this also. It was the 12th year of King Ahasuerus' rule. Now that means from the time he made that party, remember the first chapter, he made the party in the 3rd year, and now it's the 12th year. So that means 9 years have elapsed since Esther has been chosen as the queen, and this incident with Haman is starting. We don't realize, we just read the Megillah quickly, you don't realize 9 years have elapsed. Okay. So Haman went ahead and had a lottery, special professional lottery, however it was done those days. By day and by month, and from the month of Nisan until the 12th month of Adar, and they were going to pick a special day to this professional lottery that was going to be made, the day and the month that the Jews should be totally annihilated. Okay. Everyone tells us the day, but it doesn't say it over here. But now Haman, he was only a viceroy. He definitely needed King Ahasuerus' consent to go ahead and annihilate the Jews. So in verse 8, he presents his plan to Ahasuerus. And Haman says to the King Ahasuerus, have a certain people that's dispersed, scattered throughout the nation, throughout the Persian Empire. And they're very peculiar rules. It's so different than anybody else. And claims that the Jews are not abiding by the laws of the king. But there's no worth. They're worthless people. The king is not going to lose anything by it. Okay, by so the Gemara brings down this example. The Gemara, it's interesting. The Masechta Megillah elaborates on things that, of course, the Megillah itself does not say. For example, the Gemara says, "The ochli v'shasim bazul malka." When the Jews eat and drink, they embarrass the king. How so? Let's say a fly or something falls in the wine that a Jew is drinking. So what does he do? Zorko should say, maybe he'll take his spoon, just throw out the piece of dirt or that happened to go into his wine, and he'll go ahead and drink it, the rest of the wine. However, says the Gemara, but let's say King Ahasuerus will just touch the cup that a Jew is going to drink wine. What happens then? What does he do? He won't drink it. Yeah. And to this day, to this very day, we have that when you have to, of course, we drink kosher wine, but notice sometimes they put it in small print. It says mivushal, yain mivushal. You know what that is? You ever see it on a bottle of wine?
Yes.
Yeah. What does yain mivushal mean?
It's boiled.
It's boiled.
The wine is boiled.
Not all. Okay. A lot of the kosher wine that is produced is boiled wine. Why do they do that? Why is it boiled wine?
Because if a guy touches it, you could drink it if it's boiled.
Right. It's a special ruling that we have, that if you have a kosher wine, it could be 100% kosher, but it's not boiled. If a non-Jew touches it or serves the wine, we cannot drink that wine. However, if it's, I don't know how they boil it to a certain point, a certain degree, they have to boil it, and then they bottle it. That wine, even if a non-Jew touches it, is okay. Now, why is that? Why would they have that ruling? Why is it okay if they boil the wine? Why is yain called yain mivushal? Of course, you could drink regular wine, it's not boiled, provided that a non-Jew did not touch it. But especially in our synagogue, we have non-Jewish employees who will go ahead and pour the wine when they are setting up for the kiddush that we have on Shabbat. So why is it if it's boiled, it doesn't matter if a non-Jew touches it. But if it's not boiled, we cannot drink that wine. The answer is like this, that the non-Jew, those days anyway, when they did wine libation, with wine libation, regular wine that was not boiled, they used. If it's wine that had been boiled, they will not use it in their particular temples, whatever they do with their wine, with their libation. So therefore, if we go ahead and boil that wine, we know it's not going to be used for the libation by the non-Jews. So that's why it's okay for us, because they would never use wine that's boiled wine. Okay. Well, anyway, so here he's saying, Haman is saying, you see, fly will fall into their wine or a piece of dirt. They might just take it out and drink it. If you just touch their wine, they'll throw it out. Okay. That was one of the things he said. And one other thing Haman tells the king, bribes him with a lot of money. And I'll give you 10,000 talents of silver. That's an exorbitant amount of money. My workers will wait, and so on. And it will be brought to the king's treasury. Okay. Now, the Megillah, doesn't ask any questions. He doesn't say anything right away. King Achashverosh removes, I suppose it was a signet ring, from his finger and gave it to Haman. Gave it to Haman ben Amasasa, Agagi, the Agagi Torah who hated the Jews. Okay, what does it mean, Agagi, an Agagite? I think that's translated in English. What does it say? Haman, who was the son of Hamadasa, what's Agagi? What is an Agagite? What does that mean? Okay.
The king Agag that Shaul didn't kill.
Ah, very good. Excellent. If you go back to, remember, Shaul was told by Samuel to destroy Amalek, and the king at that time of Amalek was Agag. Eventually, Shmuel himself killed him, but the descendants, Agag had some children. Haman is a direct descendant of Agag. So that's why a lot of times here in the Megillah, it calls them Agagi, the Agagites. Okay. Goes back, we mentioned last week, remember Shaul's name is not, Mordechai is descendant from Shaul, direct descendant from Saul, And here, Haman is the direct descendant from Agag. Okay, but anyway, and this is why he's referred to it many times, the Agagi. Okay, verse 11. And again, Achashverosh, the Gemara sometimes refers to Achashverosh as Melech Tipesh. King Achashverosh, what's a Tipesh?
Silly.
He's a foolish king. Here you would think that here's a man coming to him who tells him that I want to destroy a group of your people scattered throughout your empire. You would think he'd ask a few questions, say something. No, he just look at his answer to it. Vayom in verse 11, Vayom Melech Haman. Sorry, the king responds to Haman. Okay, so listen, I don't need your money. You can keep your money. The so spoke. I told you, do whatever you want with those people. No questions asked. Just do whatever you want. Now, a very interesting thing that the Midrash brings up is this hakesef nasullah. Money is given over to you, and every so often I bring you a gematria. Hakesef, the numerical value of the word hakesef, that he says the silver given over to you. The silver has the numerical value of that word equals to the numerical value of ha'etz, the tree. So what is it trying to say? That this money, hakesef, that Haman offered the king, but nevertheless the king gave it back to him. It has the same numerical value as the tree, meaning that eventually that kesef that the Haman got back will also bring his downfall. The kesef will turn into eventually become the tree where Haman will be hanged, and both have the numerical value of 165. If you look at hak kesef, how much is hay? How much is hay?
5.
5. Kuf.
20.
Right. Samech.
60.
Good. And fei.
80.
Good. If you add that up, according to my calculations, 165. And ha'etz. Hay is, how much is hay?
5.
Right. Iron is 70. Sadi is
90.
90. You look, add up, you're also equal to 165. That eventually this kesef that Haman got was rich, that Achashverosh gave Haman, it didn't mean anything, because eventually you didn't get any pleasure from it anyway. Because ha'etz, later on, you'll see he'll be hanged on a tree for trying to annihilate the Jews. Okay, now you have to take note on verse 12. It's very important. The dates over here. And the scribes of the king were called on the first month, which is Nisan, the 13th day of Nisan. How many days is that before Pesach?
1.
Well, no. When is Pesach?
14th at night, right?
Yeah, but it's the next night is the next day. The 15th day of Nisan is Pesach. Yeah. So we're talking about 2 days before Pesach.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So he's calling scribes. 13th of Nisan, and they were going to write the Vaiko say because it's Haman, and they wrote. It was written exactly what Haman commanded them to do. That's going to be sent to the leaders of the satraps throughout the Persian Empire. Sorry, and each Medina, each satrap, according to the script, each nation according to its language. He had that ring. Remember, the Achashverosh gave him the signet ring. So it's written. When it was sealed with that ring, it was with the authority of King Achashverosh, and sealed with the king's signet ring. Okay. Now, what is essence? And the essence of the letters is the following: that these letters were what do you call marathon runners throughout going out through all the satraps and king. And what did it say? La Shmid, La Rogue, La Bay, to destroy, to kill, to annihilate, call you them all the Jews, Minar King, from young to old, Tafin Hashim, children, women, Yom Echad, one day. What was that day? To be ready. B'shlosha Asor L'chodesh Neim Asor Chodesh Adon. Now tells us what the day. The 13th day of the month of the 12th month of Adar, which will allow them to take all their property. Okay, yeah. The Gemara brings down the following about this thing. Notice it says, it's going to be men, women, and children. I'm a Haman. So according to the Gemara, Haman said to himself, Show Teha your Paro. You know, Paro, King Pharaoh, in the time of the Egyptian, when the Egyptian story brought down in the Torah, he was a fool. Why was he a fool? Because he only said at one of the decrees that they should throw the boys, any boy that was born, to be cast into the sea. What about the girls? The girls he let live, so that they could carry on their people then. That's what it said.
So he should have killed the girls and not the boys.
No, he only killed the boys.
I understand, but he should have killed the girls and not the boys.
Yeah, that's just the point. So Haman says that Paro was an idiot. He only killed the men. He should have killed the girls too.
But he didn't have to kill the boys. All he had to do was kill the girls.
Yeah, that's true too. So that's why over here Haman says, I'm smarter than Paro. I'm going to go ahead and kill not only the men, the women, and the children. That will totally annihilate the people. Okay, so he criticized his Paro, who also, well, that time he enslaved the Jews, but he only killed the males when he cast them, the kids that were born, threw them into the river. I'm sure many of them, through the slavery, so many of them must have died too. But we never find a decree from Paro where he wants to annihilate all the people of Israel. That you don't find. Okay. Okay, so it goes further. That's in verse 14. Again, it says there was a copy of this letter sent out to all the satraps, revealed to everybody, to be ready for the date of the 13th day of the month of Adar, following Adar, which would be 11 months from then. Remember, it's sent out in Nisan, and now he's telling people the hold that date, the 13th day of the next Adar that comes around, to be ready to annihilate all the Jews. Okay, and it says the chapter ends off. And the maritime runners went out quickly with this letter, and then it says, and the ruling was given over him to the Shushan, the capital city. And then the verse ends off, the chapter ends off, and the king and Haman, they're sitting and rejoicing, they're having a big party there. But the city of Shushan was very perplexed. They were saddened, referring to the Jews. They saw what was coming up, that the 11 months from that point, they're destined to be totally annihilated. So they're very saddened by it. So maybe they didn't know what to do. What do you do in a case like that? So in the next chapter, here's where Mordechai comes forward. It says, we have to. He started a demonstration. We have to protest. We can't just be quiet about it and say, "Oh, well, what can we do?" No, you got to do something. And you find, like we learned, so Thursday, the Mordechai is preparing a demonstration against Achashverosh. In fact, he sends a messenger to Esther and tells her, now's the time. You got to do something. We can't sit back and say, oh, nothing will happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. And he asks Esther to go ahead. You must, you have to go into meet with the king and tell him what's going on. But Esther is going to refuse. Why will Esther refuse? As the next chapter will tell us.
Because the king didn't summon him.
Right. They had that crazy rule in Persia. The only time even his own wife could not go ahead and enter his chamber unless she is called. Okay. So Mitzvah Thursday, we shall continue and cover the chapter 4. One other thing which is important. If you're unable, due to circumstance, to go to the shul on this Shabbos, when they read Pasha Zohor, you can go ahead and fulfill it a different way. And in fact, many people do this on Purim Day. Purim Day, the following Friday. When we're going to read the Megillah, before reading the Megillah, we're going to read a small section of the actual attack when the Amalekites attacked Israel when they departed from Egypt. So if you cannot come to shul on Shabbat, you can listen to it online. For Purim Day, from our synagogue, you can go ahead and listen to the Megillah and also the Torah reading that precedes the Megillah reading, and you'll fulfill the mitzvah in place of the Shabbos if you cannot come to synagogue. So very important.
What time?
Oh yeah, so 7:30 starting. You're getting what time? 7:30? Oh, no, for Purim morning, Friday morning. You'll be getting what? I think it's 7:30, but you'll be getting on the weekly announcements. It will have what time we'll be starting service on Purim morning. I think it's 7:30. And that we'll take out the Torah. We're reading the section I said by Yobo Amalek when Amalek came to declare war on Israel, and also they'll be followed by the Megillah Esther. And also those who are interested on Thursday night on Purim, we're also going to have it online, right? But I don't know the time. You'll have to see the announcements coming out this Friday. It will announce all the times.
Okay.
I hope you all get the announcements. Okay. Remember, you will get the announcements, not the call. All right. So, Mr. Chairman will continue this Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Is it 8 o'clock, right? 8 o'clock. So have a good day, and continue with our study of the Megillah Thursday. Any other questions?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay,
Thank you so
well,
much.
okay.
Always.
Thank you.